Alright.
Hey y'all, it's Nicole, Body, Mind, Spirit, Wellness. We're here at Blue Herbal Goddess and we are discussing religion versus spirituality.
Don't forget to fill up your drink.
Right, religion versus spirituality, right? There's a lot of talks, there's a lot of people who talk about being spiritual, a lot of people who talk about being religious, and they think they're exclusive, right, instead of inclusive. And so we're going to have just a little discussion about, you know, what is spirituality versus religion, or how we each see spirituality versus religion. I don't really care who starts. Not Alec, though. Right, not Alec.
Okay, I think spirituality versus religion. I think if you ain't careful, spirituality can turn into a religion.
Oh,
heavy.
Whoa.
To be honest,
That,
you know what I mean?
I done seen some cult-like spiritual.
And yeah, the reason I say that is because, and I'm just speaking for me, religion. When you talk about religion, not being religious, but religion, it puts you in a box. It's you have to do it this way, that way. You got to make a left here. You got to make a right here. You can't be a deacon until you're this, or you can't be a prophet until you're this. You know what I'm saying? So, and for me, I ain't never really seen no spiritual wars, but it's been a hell of a lot of religious wars.
That's because you don't see spiritual wars.
Talk about it.
It's different.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see much spirituality going around killing everybody.
Well, yeah.
In the 3D.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, that I think for me,
In the name of
that's one of the biggest differences to me between spirituality and religion is I believe religion is a box and spirituality is open.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, spirituality versus religion, I guess if spirituality fell into a bucket of ego, then it'd be religion. Religion, to a degree, has a lot of, like Terry was saying, structure and limitations that keep you from growing your way, but instead show you a way. And it's like, that way might not be me.
Right.
Who says that this person's interpretation of this scripture is the way I'm supposed to live or see life? What if I interpret it a different way? It's kind of like getting your IQ test done. You can only be graded up to the capacity and the ability of the person grading you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a pastor standing in front that hasn't done his shadow work, he hasn't done his balance of body, mind, and spirit, you know what I mean? If the person prophesying ain't right, then who's to say that that person is the one we supposed to be putting a bunch of money into? So I feel like money and spirituality equals religion. But if you take money out, then ego's gonna go right along with it, and you're allowed to learn and live the way that we were meant to. Because if you were to look at nature, and it does say that in the Bible, if you know God, look at nature, so you can reflect on things and say, animals don't deal with this. Plants don't grow like this, so why are we living like this?
Okay. All right. Spirituality versus religion. So,
are we scratching the back of your neck now?
well, you know, since I was a pastor's wife at one point in my life, right, and I always felt misplaced. Yes, I felt misplaced, and that was because the words, like you're saying, you know, you're being interpreted the words for you, right? The words that you're reading, but once reading, I had my own interpretation, and so I guess even further back, you know, I was going through a spiritual thing and didn't even know that that's what it was, right? Because I was coming to my own interpretation. So to me, what, you know, religious versus spirituality is you're coming to your own interpretation. So to me, they do merge together. And today, I feel like they merge together for me only because the interpretation in which I read means that I have to come to my own understanding, to the meaning of it, my own understanding of how I'm supposed to live, not based on somebody else or somebody else's interpretation, right? Spirituality is the oneness of self, whereas religion is more embodiment, but even in that embodiment, you still have to come to one own understanding, oneness of self, right? It can't just be inclusive like that. You still have to come to an understanding of self. So to me, spirituality and religion, they still have a way of coming together, but you have to come to your own understanding of what that is.
Yeah, and for me, religion is taught. Spirituality is felt. It's a growth thing, you know. Like when you're reading the word, okay, the word is there, and like they said, religion is, you know, somebody telling you their interpretation of what they just read. You're reading that same exact thing with them standing there, and your spirit is like, but you don't want to say anything because that's disrespect to the religion.
Right.
As for myself, I glean from everybody. If it resonates with me, then I'll take that. You know, if I read a post or somebody's Buddhism, like my Mexican friends and all of those, hey, they're on the same thing. Love, peace, joy. You know, we're saying the same thing, but we're putting ourselves into categories.
The box.
And we're not free.
The same.
So for me, we can learn from everybody. Everybody. In the word, it's so weird how the word says the spirit is in us. All right, the spirit. What is the spirit? But you can't call yourself a goddess. You can't say, you know, I got the power, because the word did say greater things will we do, or greater things that we do than he does, you know, that he has. Yeah. Okay, and then there's this other part about greater is he that's in me than me that's in the world. But you can't pull that strength, because if you say that, then you cocky from a religion standpoint. But on the spiritual, you know, you're like, oh, we can do this thing. Greater is he. Oh, that means I can manifest whatever I want, you know. But to say that is being spiritual is cockiness to religion.
To religious people.
Yes. When actually we're doing the same thing. We're saying the exact thing.
I'm gonna do my bad.
Go ahead on with it then. What you got?
In my opinion.
Yes.
There's levels to everything. And just as I think Terry spoke earlier about, there is a need for ego. It's just like doses. You can overdo it on anything. So if you have too much ego to say, oh, I can manifest $1 million, it's like you went too far in ego. Come back. Yeah. So ego is just supposed to get you enough to say, okay, well, I isolated and I did my work. Now when I step out, I need to have faith that when I spread these wings, they're going to fly. So you need just enough ego to say, I can do this. That things will work out. It won't necessarily be like you have control over anything, because in my opinion, as you delve into spirituality deeper, you realize you have no control at all. So it's not you doing anything, and it's not necessarily, in my opinion, you exercising your ego. It's just your ego that allows you to kind of come out of the darkness a little bit, you know?
Yeah, true. Yeah, but here's the thing, like most people coming into spirituality, they are, and this is speaking from myself, they have low self-esteem. They're talking to themselves, trying to build themselves up. So it may sound like they cocky, but they are building their own, they're building themselves up, because you got to realize they have been isolated. They have been alone in their thinking and in their journey, because everybody around them has been thinking one way, and they've been feeling, you know, inside like, oh, I got to do this, I got to fit, you know, trying to fit into other people's world. So most people, when they come out, and I'm talking about me, it sounds cocky, but it's not. It's I am confident in who I am now and what the God in me can do.
And expressing
Whereas
that.
Before I would go under the table and I would take whatever you said. You know, and then I would go to the medicine cabinet and take my medicine, because that's fighting.
Because you're suppressing who you are. Yes. So
you're
that's suppressing the God within you.
That was one of the things I was talking about, when I was talking about before. Right. Being able to hear a person and actually hear a person. Yeah. You know, like seeing every conversation with love versus, you know, a wall of, oh, she thinks she's that. No, she don't think she's that. You know, if I look deeper, I'll see that she's in pain. Or I'll see that she's struggling with something. Or I'll see that you need a hug. You know, you see what I'm saying? So it's just. Or
I'm gonna suck it dry. I need to take some of that energy you got.
Yeah. To me, it's just me.
body, mind,
Yeah,
spirit.
Alec, what was
Body,
that?
I heard
Bring
what-
us back.
Yeah, Alec, bring
Well,
us back.
All right, so I
I
feel
heard what
like,
you meant,
like
and I heard what you said.
Yeah.
I think the topic of spirituality in today's day and age is more of a safety blanket for a lot of people running from religion, right? And I say that because in religion, just as y'all have said, is very limiting, right? And there's very much so structure, and it doesn't leave room for question. And I think like, cause I used to be a youth minister, right, in North Carolina. Spirit and Truth Worship Center. That's my church. Shout out to Apostle Gary Lee. Gotcha. But like one of the things with that when I worked with my kids is I encouraged them to ask questions. I encouraged them to bring things that they didn't understand to me so we could work through it together, right? And it does go back to like what you also said about, okay, well they can only grow to the level that where I'm at, right?
Right.
And that's why I wasn't the pastor of the church. I had a pastor to go to, right? I had other people in my community to go to where I felt safe asking these questions or bringing these things to people's attention. But a lot of people don't feel safe enough to question what they're being taught by XYZ. And it's also like, and like that doesn't necessarily take away from the fact that it's also, religion is also a place for lazy people to feel safe. Right? Because a lot of people, and I say that being real talk though, like, because a lot of people won't do the work and won't do the study. Like when the people say Bible study, right? They're, I'm gonna just sit here and read a proverb a day. Like, no, my boy, like that's not studying the word. Studying the word is getting into the etymology, like you talked about last time, right? Getting you a Strong's Concordance, looking up what the Greek meant, looking up what the Hebrew meant, looking up what the history of the times meant, looking up what the practices of the people were, understanding why Jesus used certain parables, understanding, like, it goes to understanding genealogy. It goes back so far, like, people don't do the work and the study to be able to understand what people are talking about.
Lazy.
Which is why they don't, which is either why they don't have the answers to the questions or why they don't feel safe enough to answer the questions because they don't have nothing to back it up with. All they have to back it up with is last week's sermon. You know what I mean? And so now it's,
right.
Exactly. So in today's like spiritual, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. But do you still believe in Jesus? Do you still read your word? What you're just afraid of being like closing yourself off, you know, and again, it's like that can go into a whole other discussion on why is there so many different sects of Christianity. That don't even make sense, bro. You know what I mean? And why is it a difference between races? Like Baptist, bro. I went to a white Baptist church one time when I was a teenager. I was like, I'm coming from a missionary Baptist church.
You?
Bruh, first of all, I was with some other white people, so it was like safe.
Don't
But-
disrespect
We're gonna edit that part out.
But I was like, yo, like this ain't Baptist, you know what I mean? But it's like I'm used to a missionary Baptist church, you know what I mean? It's like that's not. There's a holy God, like they was doing some weird stuff. So I'm like,
I grew up going to the Church of Christ. Church of Christ, we was told that people that go to Baptist church with the choirs and the bands and all that they was wrong. We was told that they was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, church and Atlanta, I was a kid that long when about 9, then that shit was over. But you know what I'm saying? We still had the roots embedded in the church. You know what I'm saying? And my mama, you know, my mama go to church. My brother, one of my brothers go to church. My dad, see, that's enough side. You know what I'm saying? Like you pop, but you wildin'. But it was until I started really moving around the world and living in different countries and seeing their religion, I started having questions. So I started asking my cousins that was youth ministers and things like that, and they couldn't answer the question. I'm like, yo, you mean to tell me only 144,000 people on this planet is going to the upper room? 144,000. Well, that's what they say. Wow. I said, man, because look, I just lived over here, and these people, man, they would have gave me the shirt off their back. They good people. You know what I'm saying? But they Muslim. Are these people? They don't. But they Hindu. Are these people? Oh, but they Jewish. Shit, I couldn't even fly through this country because they was Jewish, and I was going to a Muslim country. So they had to reroute me because they wouldn't have let me in because my passport was stamped. So when you flying around and living throughout the world like that, and then you come back here, and then you just speak of all the different types of Christianity,
There's denominations.
and then denominations, and then you got, you know what I'm saying? It's just, to me, it's just too much fight between the same thing. Everybody want to be right. It's like everybody say, you know what? I don't like what this pastor said, so I'm gonna go open my church over here. I'm gonna call it
And that's
this.
exactly,
And that's a big problem.
what
And then
happened.
you have
Yeah,
that.
that's a big one.
And that's because, like Alex is saying, you know, you can't, we don't think the same, or you couldn't answer my question. So you know what? I'm gonna branch off and I'm gonna start my own.
In that same
Or
energy,
self-proclaimed bishops,
Yep,
self-proclaimed prophets.
yes,
in that
yeah.
same energy, you
Yep.
got a bunch of people out here in spirituality. You seeing, they be all in your feed.
Yep.
Especially if you put anything spiritual. Everybody want to give you a tarot read. Everybody want to do this. I'm gonna say this. I don't give a damn if it's in the church, our spirituality. Everybody can't pray for you.
Oh,
Yep.
facts.
Everybody can
Facts.
put their hands on you.
Facts.
Yep.
Period. You know what I'm saying? Because it's an exchange of energy, and all energy ain't good energy. You know?
And-
Yeah, and that goes back into like people don't understand like what's like against the spiritual realm. Like there are demons, right? There are bad spirits. God don't love every person on this planet, right? Like that's like
Yeah.
there are certain things that like people don't want to believe, right? Just like
It's
like
not
like tolerance.
everything.
Like not God. Say God is love, right? The Bible does say that, but that doesn't mean that God's tolerant of everything, right? Because in love, you can't just accept everything, right? There's got to be some. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about last time.
In my opinion, real love. My bad. I didn't mean.
No, you good. Real love has
So the
parameters in a way.
because for me, religion and spirituality, I was raised Christian, missionary Baptist, raised in church every Sunday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, every day. I
Deacon
did a lot.
meeting.
So me stepping out into spirituality, it wasn't necessarily a rejection of my Christianity. It was actually an exploration because
Yeah.
I needed to know that
There
this
it
is what I
is.
wanted to live.
Yeah.
Facts, yeah.
And honestly, I went to church one time and asked, I always ask the question, ain't nobody like, but this one time, I'm like, what dinosaur is that in the Bible, bro? And that just threw everything off. I got kicked out. I'm like, it's cool, G. I'm just gonna walk the streets. So, at this point in my life, I don't consider myself an atheist. So, in exploring every other religion as much as I can, learn as much as I can, there's one sound that continuously got made, and this is what triggered me a little bit. Not a bad trigger, it's a good trigger. Because real love is what's in every religion. True love, which is unconditional. Every religion, every practice, every walk of faith, I don't give a damn what you exploring. You can even, what do you love? You gotta love self, and you gotta treat others with that same unconditional love.
But that's the issue. When you think that every religion is about unconditional love, but most people don't have unconditional love of self in order to give it.
And that's where we
Right.
have
And
all
in
the issues.
religion, right, in religion, there's a lot of this talk about unconditional love, right? And they think they're walking in it, but that's where I've met most of the hateful people is in church because they don't even love themselves.
Well, and that's the thing though too.
Yeah.
People aren't capable of unconditional. Only God is capable of doing that, right? Because there's flaws in all of us, right?
Correct.
So there's always going to be some kind of something that's going to be limiting the amount of love that you can give someone. I'm not saying I can't like love you without having some kind of judgment on you. I'm saying that like true unconditional love does not come from another person. You know what I mean?
I will give you this because I'm gonna
To a
step
degree.
into your realm. So if we're made in God's image, therefore we have the capacity to do what He can do. We can have unconditional love. I have unconditional love. Like for no reason, I love people, bro. I step outside, I show people love. I don't even know your name. Here's a shirt off my back. Here's a clothes off my. You need something? There you go. I have done that, and people have done it to me for absolutely no reason. And that's what initially broke my heart towards this path, because somebody broke it with unconditional love. I didn't understand it at the time because I was all traumatized and I didn't know what they was doing. But as they continuously, Pastor Robin, the Williams,
Yeah, we talked about that before.
they broke my heart with unconditional love. People can do it. People can do anything.
They can't.
So
That I believe it.
But it helps you
Right.
heal.
My question on that, right? And I do understand what you're saying. My question is that did that come from you, or were you funneling that love through? You know what I mean?
You
Like-
learn it. You learn it. It's just like a workout. Anything we got on body, on mind, on spirit, first thing you take is a conscious effort to break the bad habit, a conscious effort to put forth the real habit, a conscious effort to make it reflex and muscle memory. The same way you can work out and get it to where you got quick reflexes, You can do the same thing with your triggers. That's
Conscious
your
effort
mind.
through spirit.
Mhm.
That's the.
And then
that's
it
like
gets
a
to where
funnel.
the
Right.
unconditional
The
Like
funnel.
the image I'm having is like a funnel.
Correct.
Versus
That's how
like
you gotta
me-
translate
Yeah,
it.
well, yeah.
You-
And it's like
yeah,
I see
yeah.
it as a
You
funnel
can
versus
have-
me being
right.
the factory of it.
Right.
But first you gotta hold it in yourself and give it to yourself.
You are, and we all are. And it tells you that over and over in the Bible. It gets diluted a lot by ministers. Because you gotta remember the religion that was given. We was given religion. We was given Christianity. You know what I'm saying? That religion is very young. When it comes to,
What do you mean by that?
we was given that. When the Europeans showed up,
So
they brought.
I'm gonna counter that.
Hold on.
There's
They
a Bible
brought-
older than the King James though.
I'm not talking about the King James. Christianity, the religion, is only about 6,000 years old. We ancient. We go way back. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean that makes sense though.
And
based off
so
of too.
before, you gotta remember, especially in the Americas, out to America, they brought that over here in the 1600s, 1500s. They came over here. That was what they call it when people come in and they you help out,
Pilgrims?
like humanitarian.
Oh, yeah.
They did that. They brought that with it. They had the Bible, we had the land. Now they got the land. we got the
Missionaries.
Bible. But hold on. Let me.
Let you finish,
I'm
I'm
gonna
definitely
talk Bible though, because in Psalms 82:6, it tells you that we are sons. We are gods because we are the sons of God. And then when you look at Matthew 6:33, it tells you to seek the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm.
And then if you look at Luke 17:21, it tells you that the kingdom of God is within you. So as long as you're looking outside of yourself, you're never gonna find that kingdom of God, that Christ consciousness. That's what they don't tell you. And then if you look in the book, if you look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, all the people that were supposed to have written the book, they about 6,000 years old, something like that. Those books was actually written 80 years after they passed away because they was all illiterate. So somebody else wrote that. Hold on.
Let me know when you finish, cause I'm.
And then,
Here we go.
And then that same Bible, people want to always put it with religion, and it's not.
Thank you.
Because
yeah, that's all.
even who y'all call Jesus, whose name is Yeshua, in the Bible stories, he wasn't even a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yes,
he got
that's
prosecuted for doing what he was doing. And if he walked the planet today, he would get prosecuted again.
Yeah.
Because he was spiritual and not religious.
It's like Buddha.
You done?
Buddha and
All
Buddha.
I hang it on that.
Alright.
I mean,
But
I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
But that's what I was gonna come back with is like a lot of people mistake the Bible for being a religious book when it's not. It's a book about the kingdom, right? And so, but then another thing that, especially in the black community, is like, oh, Christianity is a white man's religion. That's not true at all. You know what I mean? Like there's like people often think, okay, well, this is the Europeans brought us over, King James version, this, that, and third, which was like from the 1500s or whatever. Like there's Bibles that's older than that. The Ethiopian Bible is way older than the King James Bible.
So
You know
it's
what I
a
mean?
calendar, but do we go by that?
But that's when the point is that the text and what Jesus was saying, right, is not made from the white man, as a lot of people think, which is one of the another reason why. No, I'm not saying that you said that.
Weaponized.
I'm not saying that you
That's
said
all
that.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
that's because it goes back to
Weaponized.
That goes
over
back
the
to
text.
what we talked about
Yeah.
before in our Armenians was the laws of the universe, right? There's a lot of laws, right, that you can easily weaponize the Bible, easily. That's why there's so many denominations, because people taking what they think is like taking their interpretation of it and using it to get a certain result, because there's truths in the Bible that cannot be refuted no matter who uses them. You know what I mean? The same way that like manifestation is real, but people often misuse like the law of attraction to try to like get money out of nowhere,
They pull
right?
that out
But it's like
every
yeah,
time.
exactly. There are laws in the Bible that
That's gonna be a good class. Stay tuned.
have to, that like I said, that God put out there, that it doesn't matter who is operating in it, it's going to happen, it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think
As long as it's coming from pure heart.
Exactly.
practicing
But-
discernment.
Right.
But
Practicing
not
And-
because
and-
the
and-
devil can also bless people too. You know what I mean? People don't understand
Oh, now that.
that. the devil can also bless his people, right?
Yes, it can.
People don't want to talk about that though, right? And people don't want to do the work when it comes to other different like
Because people like that.
religions.
He said the devil can bless his people.
that's in the Bible.
People
Oh, no.
claim it was comfortable. It's hard to let go of everything that makes you comfortable and validates your decisions and just be out there raw and naked and vulnerability.
But when
It's hard to do that.
but when you're talking spirituality versus religion to people who are deep in religion,
They don't want to do none
It's
of that stuff.
scary.
They not trying to hear
right? You're right. They're not trying to hear it because you a lot of people don't know how to draw the correlation between the two. So it becomes a conversation that you're right and I'm right and we just not gonna have this discussion. Versus finding a way to bridge the gap between the two to know that we're speaking the same language
I was
sometimes,
talking to
not all the
my-
time.
I was talking to my
Right.
mother about the Bible, right? And we were talking about the Trinity. And I told her how, her Trinity is the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost.
Mhm.
And my Trinity is woman, man, child. You know what I'm saying? The Ankh. Every man on this planet came from the womb. I don't damn who you is. Even Yahshua came from the womb. You know what I'm saying? Period. So we talked about the Trinity. You know what I mean? But in her discernment and my discernment, we was able to have a discussion about it.
Okay.
It wasn't you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you can really bring it in to that. You know what I'm saying? But and one thing I asked, I said, how come they be finding pharaohs that's like 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 years old? And you mean to tell me don't nobody know where Moses buried?
Exactly.
Can't nobody tell me where
No.
John the Baptist is?
I don't be believing in
So,
You know what I'm
carbonation
saying?
anyway,
So
bro.
she was like, well, why you say all that? And I said this. I said, because I think that the Bible is taught, and this is, I said, I think because this is my discernment, the Bible is taught literally when it's actually metaphysics. It's mental. It should be taught mentally. It's metaphoric. It's not literal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So when you really look at those stories and you read those stories in the Christ and the ascension and you get into all that, like you said, when you start looking at the words and you start getting back in the Greek and the Hebrew of it, go a little bit further, get into the Latin, because that is one of the mothers of all language.
Yeah.
And then you'll start really getting to break down words, how it should. Some things only go back to Greek. Some things, you know what I'm saying?
Now we
So
can
you
tell
gotta
who
understand.
had stronger opinions than others.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
That-
Well,
I'm just
another
saying.
reason why, like, I do have such strong opinions. I grew up in a household with 2 atheist parents. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't start going to like get introduced into none of this stuff until my best friend David like started taking me to church with him. I was 12 years old. You know what I mean? And I was sitting there fighting for my life, like, damn near every day until I was up at the altar. I was 16, and I was literally like, I was like, damn near blacked out. I was like, open my eyes, I was boo-hoo crying, like getting hugged by my best friend and his grandpa and stuff. I'm like, yo, like, where am I at? But like, and all through those years, like, and I ain't trying to talk junk about my parents, nothing like that. Like, so if y'all watching, like, my bad, but my mom would like, say, you know what I mean? Like, my mom would like say stuff and like make little jokes and nitpick at like me even going to church. Like, would say stuff like that's like low key, like, man, disrespectful.
So
You know what I
did you
mean?
go super hard? Was it 'cause of
And
that?
well, nah, it's not that. It's just like why you feel that way? Or like even with my dad, like I don't even think my dad's atheist. I think he's more like agnostic. Because when I talk to him about stuff, like he'll joke about like, oh, you already know, like me and God got that talk like figured out, or you know I'm going to hell. Da. I'm like, yo, like what you mean, bro? Like what? You know? But it's
we
like,
already know I'm going to hell. Is everything?
yeah, he be joking like that sometimes. I'm like, I don't like one thing that one of my youth ministers told me when I was 16 was like, you can be the light for your family, and I've held on to that my entire life. And it's like I've never necessarily talked to them or like try to preach to them and none of that stuff, but like to see the receptiveness like change, you know what I mean? Like that was a big thing for me. And then when I was in college, I did a lot of exploration of other religions, and I had friends. One of my boys I still talk to today, Tyree. He was a world studies. That was his like major, was different religions and stuff like that. So we used to have conversations all the time. And then it's like I started seeing that like, well, I've had encounters with Christ, so that's why I go hard on Christ. Like, ain't no doubt, like to me, ever. You know what I mean? But I've also had like other different encounters, and like I've been spiritually attacked. You know what I mean? And all this stuff. So it's like I go hard on it because I also found, and that's why I said something about my pastor before, Apostle Gary Lee. Like he, one of the smartest dudes I've ever met, and he's the one that like started teaching me to go into the Greek, the Hebrew, the numerology. We talked about numerology before.
Numerology.
The numerology in the Bible. Yeah, like there's like when I say there's no disputing that.
Right.
You can do the studies yourself.
Yeah,
Like, you know
so
what I mean? And
now
people don't want to. Yeah,
and everything.
exactly. Like, all of this stuff is so, everything is connected, and people just are so, like, stuck.
But go back to
And
that,
comfort.
like you're saying, you got numerology, you got crystals that are in the Bible.
Crystals in the Bible,
Because
yeah.
what did they bring Jesus, right? And they say they brought him gifts, you know, jewels. What were those jewels, right?
The
Or
first-
even
the
back
first
then,
one-
the breast
the first
value-
one-
You got tarot,
The
you
value
got
of those
you got a
jewels
lot of different
ties
psychics.
to the
You got all of
frequency
these
that they can hold.
things.
Yeah.
Like different jewels can hold certain
Yes.
frequencies. Like back in the day, they used to put bits of diamond inside electronics because it could actually hold a certain capacity.
Now they use quartz.
Yep.
Clear quartz.
Even scientifically, for people that believe in science, it's acknowledged that a person's energy and aura gives off a certain frequency, and that can be recorded
Mhm.
into a certain type of stone.
Because we have crystals in our brain.
Because we talk about, ghosts and stuff, and sometimes it's just a scene being replayed because that person charged that area with a certain amount of energy. That's why what helped me with my spirituality was my belief in Christianity, because as I journeyed out in the waters on my own without any other influence and discovered parts of myself and discovered things about the world, I heard words echo that I didn't understand at the time in Christianity, that I would hear people
Right.
say all the time,
Right.
but they weren't living it, so I didn't
Yes.
understand
Right.
it. So I hear people say, "Oh, let go and let God," but they stressing out every day.
Yes, right.
Yes.
When I got to practice it for myself
Like,
again. I'm like,
right.
"Oh, this is what they talking about." I don't
Right.
think they
I read the
realize
Bible more now.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't even understand. They don't live this, and I'm living it, and this feels good.
Mhm.
That's how you know it's right. It ain't self-gratifying good, like, oh yeah, I get to eat fatty cakes because it's not pork or beef. No, it's different. It's more like I'm at peace,
Yes.
and it's different.
Yeah.
Peace is
And that's
good.
the dope thing about it. And I'm glad you touched on how you touched on and what you said, because people really need to understand discernment. You know what I'm saying? Understand that. Like, you tell people about crystals, and they be like, crystals. But then you like, if you read the Bible, and they be like, yeah. And I'll be like, the first time it showed up was in the breastplate of Aaron.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? God gave no.
Exactly. 12.
12,
Like,
12
there's 12 in there.
12 in the
Like-
breastplate. Which that same 12. That same 12. It's too late, I'm already there. Damn it. That same 12, you know what I'm saying, represents the zodiac. Same thing. Zodiac, same thing. It's 12 disciples, same thing. It's all that. The 12 gates in the book of Revelation is all the same, saying the same thing. That's why when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you read the crucifixion story, all four is different. Then you can say because all four have their own interpretation of what happened,
Mhm.
because all four was there. They all saw four from the same different angles.
Different
You
angles.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but they're all different. But some people would say, you know what I mean, when they get out there, they go, nah, because everything is left to interpretation from you, what's in you.
But if you're looking at it,
And
up
you can read the same verse in a different point in your life, and you're gonna read.
It's different.
Yep.
That's right.
Get a whole
It's gonna
different
read
message.
different.
So that's a living word. It's-
That's
I
why-
do got one question though.
That's
Ain't
right.
nobody been able to answer this one for me. So for all y'all people out there, this for y'all too. And then I'm gonna shut up after this one. In the beginning,
Don't believe that.
In the beginning, Adam and Eve, they had two sons. They had Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, and then Cain went and got married. Who he get married to? There was only 4 people. On the
Hey, I'll say it like this, right?
and I'm gonna leave there. I'm
I'll say
gonna
it like
shut
this.
up after that. But I'm just saying, I'm just looking for that answer. That's why I was reading the Quran and the Torah and everything yesterday, because I was trying to see the difference in the creation.
Creation and
Stories.
evolution coming
I'm just
together.
saying, I can't
That's
get
where I
married
am
for
with that.
people on the planet, you know?
I'm with the creation and the evolution happening together. So even though there is creation, then evolution was happening in the background. They talk about the apes going to humans, because there's facts that there was evolution.
Yeah.
So now you got a whole nother world going on by here, and then you got creation here. And then that's where it all comes together.
Okay,
The
so when
question on
Cain
that
went
is
out
like,
there
why
and
is there
had a
still
baby,
monkeys? If we evolved from monkeys, why are they still monkeys?
because not all of them were meant to evolve.
That's a whole nother
That's
conversation.
what I'm saying. That's
That's what pisses
Well,
people off.
because again, you just think about that.
That's what
But think
pisses
about
people
that.
off.
We're talking just because we walked into that, but just think about that. Because
that's
even
what I'm talking
with,
about. That's
but
what I'm
even
talking
with
about.
spirituality, everybody's not meant to evolve.
Right, but so let's get back to science. The
Yeah.
science is
Okay.
Yeah.
because you know what I'm saying. You got 9 series DNA, you got 6 series DNA,
Mhm.
and then apes in the monkey line is 3 series DNA. So you know, but that's
But
what
again,
you're talking about
out
with the
there-
spirituality part,
that's another.
Again,
that's because going back to people need to know what their purpose is.
correct.
And people are like, people don't even know their own voice. So if they don't know their own voice, how are they supposed to know God's voice?
Yes.
How they going, if they can't hear their voice or God's voice, how they gonna know their purpose?
If you don't know who you are, how do you know where you're going and
Yeah.
what you're meant to do?
Not everybody's supposed to be a boss. Not everybody's supposed to be a CEO. We need workers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And when people say,
I'm done
well,
with the
people
word.
get depressed about not knowing what their purpose is, and I've said this numerous times that did it ever occur to you that your purpose is just to exist? Because through you existing, you come into contact with different people
Yeah.
and you help them, or your existence is you just helping your family to heal.
Yeah.
You heal, you help your family to heal, and maybe that's your only purpose. Everybody wants this grandiose thing that this is what my purpose is, and sometimes it is just as simple as you existing, finding who you are, and through that you're going to have people around you that are going to evolve just because you've evolved.
Everybody want to call themselves a king or a queen or a god or a goddess. And like, some of y'all are peasants, bro. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Some people are bricklayers. Some people.
You're right.
People
But see,
do different
but
stuff.
You can't have a castle without a bricklayer.
But it's a state of consciousness.
Oh, correct.
You know what I'm saying?
And not
It's a
everybody
state
meant
of
for
being.
everything.
It's a state of mind.
But you know what? I've been told by a lot of people, you know, like growing up, you know, oh, you're chosen. You're chosen. Chosen for what?
Well, that part right there, that's deep. You just got to keep living one day at a time and keep working on yourself one day at a time, and let it just show up. And the way it sounds, so I had this moment where I was sitting back on myself, and I'm like, man, I'm bad at all this stuff.
Did you say bad?
Just bad, like terrible. Like every time I try to do this, like people telling me to do it, it don't work. Every time I try to live this way or walk this path, because people are giving me all this advice, it ain't working. And one day, I just rejected all of it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start this journey of grace, and God just showed me who I am.
That's right.
He showed me exactly what I was good at, showed me a mirror of who I was, and that the reason why I was having trouble fighting through the woods and tripping over branches and shit,
Trying to
because
fit
I got
into
wings.
somebody else's box.
I got wings on my back. I was never meant to walk. I'm over here trying to walk like a wolf or crawl like a bear, because that's how my family raised me. And I'm meant to fly in the sky, bro. So ever since I stepped out into who I really am, everything has been nice. I don't got no plan. I don't see it coming. It just happens.
Well, you know, with my being, just hearing people say, you're chosen, or you've been chosen, recently, just recently, with sitting with myself, that chosen came to my vision. And that chosen is to be me, like for real. Just be you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just me.
Yep.
That's the chosen. You're chosen to be you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And when people, I love this goddess thing, like for real, because I always see the God in me. How can I say God is in me and not be a goddess? You know? There's different definitions of what goddess is. Like there's people, you know, some people may see goddess as, you know, somebody walking around with a crown on their head. No. I'm just believing in me when I say I am a goddess. I am believing in the God in me, because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When I consult myself about, you know, what's going on when something happened and I stop to do this, consulting with the God in me. That's what I'm doing, you know. So yeah, I'm bold about it too.
I like it.
I'm bold about that part. Wait, oh my God! And if I don't get no answer to that, we gotta go. I'll talk to you about it later. But I will
We had a
not.
discussion about that.
Yeah.
In the
I
last.
will not allow anybody to tell me who I am, or not anymore. You know, before, yeah, you can tell me, like the ones you say you're chosen. Oh man, I'm like like he said, chosen for what? You know,
Right.
but that chosen came about when I watched everybody in my family. When I say everybody, my mama, my sisters, my cousins, I was always the person who went and helped. You called me, if somebody said I dropped my toe, I hit my toe. Here I am on the highway, I don't care what time it is, I'm going to help and figure out what's wrong with them. But the moment that I started coming into me, everybody disappeared. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. I'm in a house with people, and that was the hardest thing. And I'm talking about, what am I chosen for? What am I chosen for? But now here I am, 3 years later, divorced. My mama talking to me now. My daddy, my cousins, all of them. They not asking the question. They just, oh, I just love how you.
They see you.
Yeah. But what I don't do is put my way of thinking onto them. I allow them to, just come in. It's like they're almost like gleaning, without a conversation.
What
So
you
to
doing
me,
next? What you
yeah. They don't ask no questions though. They just be sitting back, smiling, and oh, how you do? Just that type of thing. So for me, yeah, that's the chosen. I was chosen to be me. I wasn't chosen to heal the world or all that. Just be me, and everything else will follow.
And that's all that
There it
matters.
is.
Because knowing who you are
Mhm.
and identifying who you are means that you will be resilient and have so much discernment when it comes to the stuff that society's putting out.
Yeah.
Because people are trying to copy people. People are trying to. You see, I let ego talk a little bit. So we have fans. Because we're individuals that decide to step up and walk into ourselves, there are people watching us.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them mean as
Definitely.
well. Some of them watch us for inspiration. Some of them watch us just because they missing out. They want to see what they missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
But not
Or some of them
everybody's
are
good for that.
looking because they want to try to copy.
And not everybody.
And that is them coming from the lower vibration.
It is.
But that ain't for us to worry about.
It
I
ain't.
like that low
You just be
vibration.
you.
thing.
That ain't for us to worry
It's
about.
So above, so below.
Mm.
I like that.
Mm.
I like that.
So with that,
just as sure as you're in a good mood, you know.
That's
there's
all
something in
correspondence.
that. So, man, y'all better go on now.
That goes back to what you was talking about the in duality, like
Mhm.
yeah, you ain't never seen a one-sided piece of paper, right? Or a one-sided coin. Don't agree.
So put in the comments some things that you guys would like to have some deeper understanding about when we're talking about spirituality versus religion, because I think there's going to be a part 2.
Part
forgot.
76.
Yeah, I want to
This was
put in
part
the
2
comments
and 3.
about what it
And
is
four.
that you want to talk about,
Right,
because
right,
it's
right.
much bigger than what we've even brought up.
This is at least
So-
2 parts, right?
So thank you.
And you was chosen for this, by the way.
And
Yes.
drop in the comments. What's your beliefs on religion? Nobody attack nobody. We just gonna sit and drop what
Yes,
your
because
religion
you
is.
will be blocked if
This is all respect.
derogatory, because this is not
All
the place
respect.
for that.
And all encompassing
Allows people to
love.
grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're chosen to be you.
That's
Yes.
all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
So
All
if my
right.
verses
That's
was
all.
off, look at the next one.